Hearthstone is a collectible card game created by Blizzard Entertainment where two players duel with decks of 30 cards. The goal of the game is to play the cards and eventually kill your opponent. Each turn a player has a certain amount of mana which they can use to play cards. It starts at 1 and increases each turn to a maximum of 10. The goal of the game is to reduce your opponent's health to 0 before your own health is reduced to 0. This requires managing a number of resources, which include health, the state of the board, and the number of cards you have. Okay. Cards are a resource used to create a stronger board presence. With a stronger board presence, you can make better trades and do more damage to your opponent.
In terms of the complexity of Hearthstone, it's significantly more complex than a 52 card game where you're using a standard deck like blackjack or poker. For single turns on the harder single turns, our AI has to evaluate up to 5,000 possible turns, and that takes a few seconds with our implementation. This results in each player being able to take multiple actions in a single turn, so you can play more than one card in a turn, and you have to examine all potential combinations of these cards, the cards in your hand, the cards and the cards on the board. So that leads to a lot of possible turns and a lot of possible moves within that turn. So our approach for the AI was to plan out our AI's possible turn by adding plays to a tree, and then we would find the end result that maximizes our heuristic using a depth first search. And we chose to we use this tree instead of a min-max tree because obviously we're only looking at our own bot's turn. So you have to maximize the entire tree instead of alternating, minimizing, and maximizing. In terms of running time, it's possible to exhaustively search this tree, and the run time is approximately n squared, you can see here. And we're able to cut down on the depth that we have to search by only expanding first moves that lead to a positive board value. And you can see our basic heuristic here, and this will be more detailed and explained in the paper. But basically, you calculate the value of each minion based on that function, and then you compare the values of your minions to the opponent's, and you can generate an expected number of turns that you think you'll win in, and then determine a board value from that. And so the idea is to maximize the board value at the end of each turn. In terms of performance, our AI consistently outperforms a novice player who's had less than 5 hours of game time, and relatively competitive with an experienced player who's played a significant amount of time. We had a kind of a control AI that selected a random sequences of moves for a turn, and it wins the majority of the games over that. It outperforms an AI with a simple heuristic, and we are unable to have it play directly with the Hearthstone AI itself because we used an open source version of Hearthstone, so we couldn't use Blizzard's own AI. But I guess subjectively speaking, the experienced player said it's much more challenging to play against our AI than the included AI in the game itself. So our game is strong in that it can play its turn basically perfectly because our heuristic is pretty strong. So the exhaustive search tree means it will play the best move possible. And stringing turns together, string perfect turns together will lead to a viable strategy. And because it maximizes control each turn. And like I said, it's competitive against experienced players. In terms of weaknesses, it doesn't plan its opponent's turn, so it misses out on some more nuanced plays where maybe a negative play now would cause your opponent to do something not to his benefit, and then in the future you would get a higher payout than playing a good move now. It also doesn't handle randoms too well. Some bots have random effects, and we simplified our decks by just leaving these out. Because the issue here is the bot will simulate playing one of these cards with a random effect. It will observe a positive random effect, so it'll play that card in the real game. But when the card actually gets played, it sees a random negative effect, so it actually leads to a worse board state. We could potentially extend this implementation by solving the kind of random problem with Monte Carlo sampling, where you just take a random sample of outcomes and average them to get an expected value. This would be the same way to approach planning out multiple turns ahead. We can eliminate cards from our opponent's hand based on what's played already, things like that. The problem with this is that playing one turn already takes n squared time, so playing even one more turn into the future would move that to into the fourth time, which isn't feasible. Doesn't have a feasible running time because turns are limited in time in Hearthstone. And we chose, like I said before, the minimax of the single turn search or a single turn over the minimax search because we observed that perfectly planning out an entire turn led to better results than trying to use less information on your current turn using randomness to then allow yourself to search your opponent's turn. It was better to just get your turn perfect rather than try to approximate your turn and then approximate the opponent's turn.
Here's an example of the bot in action. This is the mulligan phase where I keep one card, and then I go first to end my turn because I don't have a play. The bot coins out a 2-drop, which is a nuanced play because the coin adds no initial value, but it allows you to play the higher value minion. The bot played the best thing it could and then attacked into my minion, and this is me attacking into theirs. You can see in the top left corner the heuristic of the current game state. From the bot's perspective, negative means that it thinks it's losing, and positive means that it thinks it's going to win. I play a weapon and then attack into the minion. Now the bot just made a nuanced play. It played the junk bot before it attacked with that other minion into mine, and what that did is that buffed the junk bot. If he played them in the alternate order, it wouldn't have been buffed by that dying. The bot opts not to attack my minion, instead go face. There the bot played Consecrate, an area of effect that does 2 damage to all of my minions, and used it to clear my board. Here I use Consecration against the bot to clear its board. At this point the bot starts to think it's winning, and is just making the optimal moves it can each turn. At this point, I'm definitely losing, so I attack the other minion and die.